Hello, lovely listener. I'm Gabriele Chiapparini. Welcome to Small Photobook Cult. Today's book is Dinucolo, or Before the Dawn in English. It is published by GRANI EDIZIONI by Valentino Baracchini, a small publishing house that prints very, very limited edition, around or below 100 copies, I believe, which are carefully curated and unique. The project explores our context and historical period and the anxiety that comes with bringing a new life into this world. The images are twilight-like, dark, but here and there we can see some moment of light and tranquility. Welcome to the episode 26 of Small Photobook Cult. Here with us, Ben Osborne. Hello, Ben. I'm happy to speak with you.
Hi, Gabriele. Thank you for inviting me on. I'm a huge fan of your podcast, so it's a pleasure to be here.
Thanks. I'm glad to hear that. Did you listen to some other episodes?
Yeah, I've listened to most of them. Yeah,
wow.
It's a real education on Photobooks, so I'm really enjoying it.
So now I want to know which one is your favorite.
The Matthew Tempo one is really good. I love Dog Breath. That's been great. Sabine Hess one as well. I have that book, and that was really nice to hear her talking about that in more detail. But yeah, I'm trying to think of the Jacopopo's one. This was really good too. So yeah, lots of good stuff. I find it like an education listening to them.
Yeah, this is mainly the point, and also I'm because of course all the book that I speak about is book that I own. But I'm really curious to know if it's more interesting for the people when they listen to an episode about a book that they own or not, like, because it's really different, I think it can be really beautiful to listen a podcast about something that you have and you can watch, but can be also interesting to listen something about a book that you don't have.
Yeah, I enjoy both. There's some of the books that you've covered I do have, and it's great hearing more about them. Some of the artists photographers you've covered, I've not heard speak about their work before, so it's amazing to hear them. But yeah, equally, there's books that I don't have, and that's really intriguing to get a look at it and to hear more about the project. And yeah, it's not good for my wallet because it just makes me want to buy. It's developing my understanding of the photo book and the photographers and the idea behind it.
Yeah, I understand you. Like, I feel it. It's I'm a bit a compulsive collector. I don't know if compulsive exists in English as a word.
Yeah, I think I know what you mean.
So I'm that kind of collector. So we can start speaking about this really weird and beautiful book. What is the title? Because there are two titles in the book, right?
Yeah, that's right. So the book is very much a collaboration with the publisher, and that becomes apparent, I think, probably when I talk about it. The title I gave it is Before the Dawn, so that's the English title, if you like. And Dinucolo, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's an Italian word, I believe, which is sort of before the dawn. This came from the publisher, from Valentino at GRANI. He introduced that title, which I love. It's a nice, for me, it's a beautiful sounding word. Before the Dawn is the English title I gave it, and that for me represents a bit of the idea of the book. It's where it sort of the idea for the sequence formed. Where that came from is primarily from there's a saying, and it's in a Bob Dylan song actually. I heard while I was editing, where he sings about the darkest hour is right before the dawn, and this had me thinking about the themes of the book, which I'll talk about in a second. But this sort of phrase, the darkest hour is just before the dawn, really resonated with me, and for a couple of reasons. One, the pictures are dark. You'll notice when you go through them, most of them are very dark. A lot of them were taken before the dawn, early morning or late in the evening. Not all of them, but the kind of feel, the feel of the images is very much that sort of pre-dawn darkness. And the idea that it's perhaps the darkest moment was something I was thinking about. The images, for me, sort of put across a feeling of anxiety, of darkness, and this feeling that perhaps we're in a very dark moment at the moment, just generally in the world, and that hopefully a bit of hope that the darkest moment is perhaps just before the dawn, before the sun rises, and things sort of improve. That's where the title comes from. I hope I pronounced the Italian correctly.
Yeah, Dinucolo. Yeah, it's a really weird name also for an Italian. It's Italian, but it's a kind of word that you don't use anymore.
Okay.
I think not because it's old, probably because it's too specific. It's really specific, so it's really describe a specific moment in the day. But yeah, it's really beautiful. Also because you have to go to search for it, what it means.
And I like this. Yeah, I like this.
Yeah, I like it too. And so, what is the project about? And we, if it's okay for you, I can start like going through the book.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so the project. I mean, maybe I'll start with the beginning. He started something very different, and I don't have a formal education in photography, and I tend not to work in projects. I tend to just make images, and then in the editing process, pull together images which I feel have a certain feel or similarity, and then putting those images into different files, and then mixing them up and printing them, and looking for sort of patterns within them. But the project, if I could call it that, started with the landscape images. You'll see there are certain images in there. These ones, for instance, of landscape, of forest, of trees. The project started with those images and these pathways through the forest. And where I live here on the south coast of England, there is a national park and a forest just behind where we live in our garden. And we can get to this forest from our garden. And I was originally taking a lot of photographs in the forest. You can see the picture on the right there. That's a good example of it. And it was just purely landscape images at first. I was making these images. There's a disease in some of the trees called what's it called? It's called ash dieback, and it's a fungal disease which these trees have got, and it's causing lots of them to lose their leaves, to die, to turn white, and eventually to fall. And these dying trees I found fascinating. So I was often out in the forest early in the morning. We get a lot of mist here because we're close to the coast as well. So I was making these sort of atmospheric images of the landscape and the forest and these dying trees. And while I was doing this, the COVID pandemic happened, and I could see this parallel with the virus which was spreading through the human population and these trees which were dying from this fungal disease. And there was the kind of ideas, the seeds for a project came from this. So I started putting those images together, making more of them, getting up into the forest. And that was where the idea was going originally. And I was wondering if I could perhaps make this into a book. I did find that, however, that more and more my children would come with me for these walks as they were getting bigger. And they gradually started getting into the frame on some of the photographs. I would take a picture of them while I was getting ready to take a picture of some trees, or they would wander into the frame as I was about to take a picture, and it would be super annoying, but I would say, okay, let's just make the picture. And gradually I started to put some of these images of my children and my wife and my family together with these images of the trees. And almost immediately as I did that, I felt that the work gained something. It went from just being this landscape, images of trees, of the forest, to something else. And the placement of the images of the family, of the children with these forests, especially the very dark forests, as you can see there on this image, this sort of haunting atmospheric darkness. It's a little bit fairy tale to me. It started to make me think of, the Grimm brothers, these fairy tales, this darkness, and the images of the children and my wife within that context and that setting. I just felt it made the work more interesting, and pretty much from that moment, I decided it was more than just a landscape. And a lot of the impetus for it came from sharing with friends, with other photographers. One particular, Alan Salas, who I know you know and have interviewed for the podcast, sharing some of the images with Alan. I think Alan said to me at the end of the call, the true subject of your work, Ben, is your family. And I think it was that point that made me realize that he was right. And it was less about the landscape and more about my family within the landscape. And there was one particular image, and I think we're probably going to come up to it quite soon, that really made everything fit together for me. I'll tell you when we get to it, but you can see these images here. These are very much the original sort of landscape images I was making, the forest. And then again here, the family, the children start coming into it. And I started adding different images, the snakes, the slow worms, to feed into this. And gradually, the work, the image on the right there of my daughter standing in the darkness. This was one I think one of the first ones where I was trying to just take a picture of the landscape there, of the darkness of the trees, and she wandered into the frame and was standing there, and I'm not sure what she was doing, but I took the picture, and when I looked at it afterwards, it just fell into place really, and I just thought, okay, yeah, they need to be part of this. It makes it more interesting than just purely a landscape work. And the images of them, the forest, the darkness, these young children being within this darkness, for me, gave a feeling of my anxiety that I think I feel as a parent, especially started during that period of COVID. It's continued with everything that's gone on in the world, the darkness that seems to be all around us at the moment, with the situations in lots of countries and the rise of the far right, and this sort of feeling of what is the future, what does it hold for my children, and for the world they're going to grow up in, and climate change as well. And this anxiety, I felt, okay, let's center in on that, and let's try and build something around this feeling.
And yeah, so adding your family and your personal story, it's like you add a layer, like a more personal layer, instead to have just the landscape. And also the fact that in a lot of pictures, what I see is a bit an alien landscape also. Like linked to what you said now, like about to start to be scared about the world, the climate change. It's look like you want to take picture of the world that we will have in the future, this arid place, not welcoming. I don't know if it's correct.
Absolutely. And I feel the same way with the forest images. They are, it's beautiful, but I think there's beauty there, but there's a darkness. There's a kind of encroaching darkness. Often the pictures of the children have darkness around them. The image there of my daughter and by the trees has the darkness sort of around, and it's I find trees very strange when I spend a lot of time looking at them in the forest. If you look at them with sort of fresh eyes, they're incredibly strange things. And if you really think about them, and I think, seeing them with almost like a alien landscape is interesting.
Yeah, I understand. I have to say, for the people that are listening, that we have these texts here that are not the text in the final book. It's just some notes of probably of GRANI.
That's
here. It's said that the roads maybe can be printed in a really light paper, like Riso paper, or like trans white, and because the book itself, it's really beautiful. It's just, I think, how many copies? 100.
100, yeah.
Yeah, that are really, really few. But each book is really well done. Like it's handmade almost, I think, right?
Yes, yep.
And yeah, you can feel it. It's, spread like this one, that all the pages open. It's a really delicate book. Also, there is almost no binding, like it's like there is, but you open the cardboard outside, and then you have the book. It's a really beautiful object, and really, really specific and weird. How was your experience with this kind of book?
It was great, really. I mean, I was very lucky to work with Valentino at GRANI, fantastic publisher. He was very, very helpful for me. It's my first book. As I said, I don't have a formal education in photography or bookmaking and design. So having someone like that to work with, someone I trusted, I've seen Valentino's work before with previous books that I have, and I always had full trust that they would do a good job. I must admit, I wasn't envisaging it as I didn't imagine it as such a beautiful object in itself. When I imagined making a book, especially my first book, I imagined a much more traditional book, and I would have been happy with something like that. But I think this does take it to another level. For me, it really adds some mystery to it. The way the pages open out, things expand, and then you close it back up again. I think it adds to the project. I know it can be sometimes distracting with certain formats of books which deviate from the standard photo book, but I hope in this case it adds something. I think it does. And just holding the object for me is very special. It's a very beautiful, handmade book.
Yeah, it is. I agree. I'm looking the real book right now, and for example, in the start, wait, I need to find the right place, but here you have this now that is nothing, but in the real book you have all this specific moment of the night.
Yes.
So in this page there is Vespro, for example, and it's all written in Italian. That is something that I really love. And yeah, I'm gonna read it. It's Vespro dalla stella occidentale che segue il sole al tramonto e precede le tenebre. Then you have another like small paper with the translation that is in the end of the book, and so you have a bit to jump around, and it's really beautiful. But you have across all the book you have this small text by Emily Dickinson in the start. Then you have Vesper Twilight con Ticino, In Tempestum Gallicino Matins, Diluculum or Aurora, and Compline. Each one with a specific description of what specific moment of the night is that word, and I think it's really beautiful linked to this work. So how this idea come up?
So that was from the publisher. So we were looking for some text. I didn't want to make it too text heavy, but Valentino and colleagues at GRANI suggested this text, and at first they sent it to me in Italian. I had to do a translation on Google, and I loved it. To me, it really added something. It's these sort of 7 stages of the night. It's in the translation for those who didn't get the Italian. He kind of uses the night as a framework for some of these anxieties that I mentioned at the beginning around, perhaps the decline of Western civilization, this period of change that we seem to be in at the moment. And it's sort of each section of the book represents a different section of the of the night of the night as we head towards the morning. But it's I personally love it being Italian. I think it looks beautiful. It reads beautifully in Italian. It's a lovely language. And as you say, there is the translation at the back in a separate sheet which is added in. And even though it's my own book, I've very much enjoyed going back and forth and looking up these, what exactly these mean. I think for me, it's added a further dimension to it, something to explore.
Yeah. I met him in Arles some days ago, and he said, I love the old books. And we were watching at some books in a bookshop, and he was buying something about, I don't know, I'm not sure, maybe Diane Arbus, but I'm not sure. And I think it's really curious the work that he is doing with your book and also the others, that it's really personal. He had a lot of himself in all the project.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he very much was a collaboration. I can't really take credit for the design of the book. That was Valentino and GRANI. Obviously they would run things by me. We would discuss, we would change things, but I was... From the first draft, I was very pleased that they'd captured the mood I was looking for, this atmosphere, this darkness, but also a little bit of hope there. There's some images I feel which perhaps are a bit more hopeful. And they've done a great job. It's a dream to work with a publisher like this. It's beautiful to have these handmade objects.
Yeah, I agree. And by the way, it's always beautiful to work with someone that is passionate about that.
Absolutely. Yeah, that really counted. Yeah, I really felt that through the whole process that, I had this faith that they would do a good job because I could feel their passion. I never doubted that they would put something out which they felt wasn't, up to a certain standard. Yeah, and it wasn't an easy job, I think, for them, because some of these images are very dark. This one, for instance, it's not easy to get that, I think, in print. It can be a difficult process.
Yeah, it's always tricky to print this kind of images. Also this one on the left.
Yeah. So these are on silver paper in the book. So these are printed on a silver paper, which give it a bit of a shine to the highlights.
Yeah, also like the main details in the book are really well done. Like you can see that he spent a lot of time working on it.
Yeah, they did a great job.
And so, Ben, how did you explore darkness in this work? Like, how was your methodology, and what were you looking for?
It's a good question. The way I work, I tend not to go out looking for specific things to photograph. I'm much more someone who has a camera on me a lot of the time, and I'm just looking out for whatever I see, whatever appears before me. There are some images, I guess, where I thought, okay, the conditions are good. I'm going to look for a specific subject, but I would say that's rare. Most of the images is just me out with a camera, exploring and bringing back what I found. There's a lot of images which I take which don't make it into the book, obviously, same with everyone. But every so often I would come across something like this, these, they look like snakes. They're actually a type of lizard, a legless lizard. We call it a slow worm under the rock there. This is the sort of thing I would just come across perhaps with my children walking, and I would make a photograph of it. And, to me, it fits with the work. There'll be, for every one that does, there'll be 100 that don't fit in with the work. But I wouldn't say I specifically go out with a conscious, effort to make images to fit with this project. I'm just taking photographs. The way I work, it's natural light. I like taking photographs in quite low light. I like it to be dark, slightly underexposed. It's just the style I like, and I'll get enough images eventually which seem to fit this mood. It's the same with the pictures of the family, the children. I don't stage them. They're not. I'm not asking them, right, you go and stand here, I'm going to make a photo. I mean, occasionally I'll see something and I think, okay, can you maybe stand there? But most of them, it's just taking pictures while we're out in the world, and it's seeing what I find there. I think it's just the way I work. It lends itself to these dark images.
And how did you work technically? Because it's quite hard to have this kind of images really dark with this black.
Yeah, so I shoot digitally. I used to use film. During COVID, I stopped using film. It was difficult to get processed. I switched to digital, and these images are all digital. I'm not that important, but it's just in terms of that's how I would make them. It does lend itself as well to taking images in lower light. I think handheld, it's easier than using film. So a lot of these are handheld in low light. The technology does allow that these days. So a lot of them would just be taken at times of day where the light was right. We have this fog and this mist comes in the winter here by the coast, and it can give this very mysterious light. So a lot of them are taken in that in terms of a technical sense. I would say as well that it's a fiction. The book is, although it does represent these anxieties I have, a lot of these photographs would have been taken when I would be walking with my children, and it would be a lovely time. We'd be having a nice. It looks dark and forbidding, but it's that's what the image is. But the reality is probably something different. If I had taken a picture with my iPhone, for instance, but I enjoy working in black and white. I think it adds this atmosphere to it. There are some color images actually in the book. On the cover is a color which isn't featured here, but that is an image in color, which I do work occasionally. But for most of it, I found that working in black and white was getting the mood across I wanted. I also try and avoid things that date the images. This is something I learned quite early on. I did have a couple of images in the sequence originally before I went to the publisher, when I shared with friends, which perhaps featured maybe an item of clothing which kind of dated it, or a watch, or something like this. I've tried to avoid that in the book and keep it as timeless as possible. It's something that was important to me. I didn't want to date it specifically in the here and now, in the modern world.
And you start with this picture, and you end with this one, that are quite similar.
Yeah. That was
Why?
decision. This sequence always started with the image of my daughter. So once I'd got this idea of the family and using them within the images, I don't know. I just love this image. I feel she's looking out. It's slightly lighter ahead of her, I think, as well. It's darker behind here. There's a darkness behind her, but hopefully, she's looking towards what is a little bit lighter there. She's looking ahead. There's a lot of pathways in the book as well. You'll notice lots of tracks running through the forest, and the pathway is often lighter than the surrounding. And I just felt it's almost the start of a journey. She's heading off into the night, into the world. This feeling of sort of perhaps letting go of my children as well as they grow. The image at the end is my wife. It for me it kind of represents the mother figure as well, the anxiety of the parent looking out across the landscape. But it could quite easily be the little girl from the beginning, having grown and got older. it's I like to keep things open to interpretation. It's important to me, I think, for people to be able to come to the work and make their own stories, their own narratives as well.
Yeah, they are both really powerful. I think they work really well. And there is something else about this sequence that you want to speak about, because I don't know how much you work on the sequence or how much GRANI worked on that.
It was a bit of both, really. I mean, I really appreciated them sequencing. They would sequence, I would comment, I would send some sequences through. To be honest, they're better at sequencing than me. It's something I've struggled with editing my own work. I feel I constantly change images, and sometimes I'm not making things better. So a lot of the sequence was GRANI. I was very happy to give them this collection of images that I'd made, and for them to bring them together. And they had my idea, my vision for the book, and for them to sort of try and build a narrative from this initial idea. So yeah, a lot of the sequence was from them. There are some things which I was very I really wanted in. There's the images of the birds. For instance, there's several images of birds that run through the book. That was important to me to have this within there as well. To have these pictures. There's some crows in there. There's a dead crow here. It comes back later in the sequence. It's in a tree. There's a small bird there on the right. And I like this flow of the bird. This recurring image. It's something I like. I was always influenced by Fukasi and his Ravens book as well. And this was an important book to me. And yeah, I kind of wanted maybe a homage to this book with an image of at least one bird or crow. There is another where the crow is sitting on the rock as well. This was an image that, I don't know, it just felt right for the book. For me, it portrays a kind of feeling of a little bit of dread and anxiety, and yeah, we'll come to it soon, I think. But there was definitely the image there of the butterfly. There was a recurring butterflies that run through it as well. There are several butterflies. It's a different butterfly, but it looks the same. It's at different times. They're both on hands. One is a bit more menacing than the other. One, it's being enclosed within a hand sitting on a palm with the fingers closing over. The later image, it's resting on the child's finger. So yeah, you have the image there. And these things were important to me, to have these motifs that connected the sequence together.
And where did the need, like, to explore this theme with photography come from?
It's a good question. I don't know. My honest answer, I don't know where it came from. I think probably like many of us, like most of the guests you have on, it becomes a bit obsessive for me taking photographs. It's something that I just do, and I feel I need to do. I feel it's a way that I express myself in some way that perhaps I can't do without the camera. It's this feeling. I mean, I would definitely say that I wasn't feeling this, like it wasn't manifesting as this sort of dread, anxiety in my general life. It's when I put the images together and I look at what I've been taking photos of that I feel that I'm perhaps learning something about myself. And I'm bringing them together and thinking, okay, this seems to be saying something. Why am I always taking these images? Why does it look so dark? Why can't I take pictures of the children looking happy on a sunny beach? Why is this collection of images existing? And the more I thought about it, the more I looked, I thought about this sort of feeling of dread. And to me, the title as well, this is something that only occurred to me afterwards. And it wasn't something I thought of when I thought of the title Before the Dawn, but it's Before the Dawn. My wife particularly, she'll wake much earlier than me. She'll wake 5 a.m, and often at that time she worries. She'll lay there and worry, and one thing she worries about is the children. These sort of feeling of anxiety that come to you before the dawn when you're laying there and you cannot get back to sleep and you're just stuck with your own thoughts in your head. And this as well contributed to the title, and just bringing this all together. I just think it's something that I perhaps needed to explore, but I didn't even realize I needed to explore it until I'd already explored it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure. No, it's really personal, and it seems to be like a pictures-leaded project. Like, it happens quite a lot that you just put all the pictures in a line and you start to see something that the pictures are telling to you, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I think that's the case. I would love to go out and have a specific project in mind and make images for that. And maybe that's something I'll do. Maybe I'll look at that next. But yeah, for these images, it was very much led by the pictures, I think.
Yeah, but also I think it depends a lot because in the last episode with Emilia Martini, she said something that I think it's really, really important and specific and beautiful. She said that you start really small with a project, like with let's say, a specific idea. Then you go very, very big with a lot of stuff inside that you didn't, you didn't plan that. Like it just happened. It happened that you collect more pictures and each pictures tell you something else, or you speak with someone else that lead you to a different direction. And then you finish very, very small or small. And I really like this line, that starting with an idea that go crazy in the middle and then you need to.
Yeah, absolutely. That pretty much covers probably what I was trying to say. Something similar.
Yeah, it's beautiful because I think in each episode there is a small piece of a puzzle that it's a never-ending puzzle. Like it's not something that we are going to complete one day, but it's each one adds some like his personal experience that of course doesn't work for everybody. Like it's something that can work for some, but yeah.
No, absolutely.
I really like this process in photography. And also I like people that are really more specific, that they start from an idea and they can keep going on the same idea and going out with an amazing project, really focused on point, but it doesn't happen so much, I think.
Exactly.
And also, like, Ben, exploring this thing of the night, like we are like in, 2025 right now, and like there is not so much darkness right now also in the city, like we are full of light all the time, but it's still that moment in the day where your bad thoughts come out. I don't know why. It's really weird, and it happens also to me. You had a nice day, everything is going not well but quite well, and then you go to bed, and in that moment in the darkness you start to feel that kind of thing, like you are scared of things that I don't know why during the day you don't think about.
Yeah, absolutely. That's common to me, probably to a lot of us. And yeah, I think this was very much what I was thinking of, with these images and this sequence in this book.
Yeah, it's really weird. I some weeks ago I started to thought if it was the same like in the past, like 100 years ago, when there was not this light pollution. Maybe, I don't know, maybe the night it's always carry a bit of scary things, but at the same time, maybe it was also a chill and quiet moment.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I think in the past, we would have perhaps been more comfortable with the darkness, with the night. I think now we have our lights, we have our phones. As soon as it gets dark, it's dark outside. If we want to go outside, we have street lights, we have torches, lights. I think in the past, for the majority of the time that humans have been around, it would have been dark when you go out, and you would have been comfortable. When I grew up in the countryside and there were no street lights, and I would go out in the evening and you could see in the dark because your eyes were used to the dark. Now I live in a town, a suburban area. If I go to the woods behind, it takes a long time for my eyes to adjust to that darkness because I'm so used to the brightness of everything, the screens, the lights. I think our relationship would have been different with the night. I think equally as forbidding and as scary, but I think we would have perhaps been more comfortable with it in some way.
Yeah. And how did you look for the beauty or the light within the process?
Yeah, so I wanted to bring some light in because I didn't want it to feel hopeless or too dark. The images of the children, I hope, bring some light in. There's towards the end, there's the butterfly, which for me represents that feeling of hope in the book. There is, as I said, the image where it's on the palm of the hand there. It looks more. Yeah, I feel the hand is aggressive around it. It's less hopeful, but further on at the end, it's freer. It's resting on the hand. There's light, dappled sunlight around the hand, around the butterfly. It looks like it could fly. It wouldn't be constrained in any way. But equally, the next image to me is quite dark. They almost look skull-like, these poppy heads hanging there, and I didn't want to end on a happy, I didn't want it to be like a Hollywood film that it ends and everything is fine. I wanted some ambiguity. There's, I hope, some light in there, a bit of hope, but I'm not always sure that there's too much hope out there at the moment.
But during the process, you was actively like looking for pictures more like relaxed and calm, or it just happened like the others in the end, in the editing, you saw it?
No, I do have. I have a lot of images of which are more hopeful. A lot of images which wouldn't work in this book if I put them all in. It would a lot of pictures of my family, where it's brighter, it's lighter, where it's much more a different feel. And I looked through these and I wanted to add one or two in there. So I have these images. I mean, some of these photographs where it looks very dark, 2 minutes later, the light could change and I make an image which is much more hopeful, much more bright. The sun comes out from behind a cloud and suddenly everything changes. And so I have these images all the time I'm making. It's just selecting which ones to use in the project. I think, I could have put a number of images in here, which perhaps maybe would have made it too light. As I said, I didn't want to have too much of this in there, but for future work, maybe it's something I'll look at. But yeah, the images I'd say were taken alongside a lot of these. It's just a lot of it for me depends upon the light, the conditions, the atmosphere, even perhaps the look on a face for a portrait, the expression. It can change minute to minute.
And how GRANI approached you? How did the collaboration begin?
So I met Valentino in Paris at Paris Photo in November 2024. So I was introduced by my friend and photographer Boris Snarwert, who worked with Valentino previously. I think I was lucky enough for Boris to have talked about my work with Valentino, and I think Valentino had checked it out and was interested. I think Valentino likes this darkness, this dark kind of image. And we spoke briefly in Paris. He said, send me some images. So I sent him a large amount of files. He wanted a lot of images to look at. So I sent him a large amount of images. And he came, I outlined my idea for the book, what sort of atmosphere I would like to get across, the sort of the narrative, the idea. And Valentino took it away, came back and said, yeah, this is something they would be interested in working on. So we worked on the book remotely, which is, it's an education to do that. To do, Valentino would create a maquette. He would send me recordings of it. He would, I would see the sequences. We would comment on that. We would leave it for a while, let it rest. Then we would come back to it. But it's, overall, the process hasn't taken that long. It's been less than a year since we met, and we have this book. So he works well. I think, as I said earlier, I trusted Valentino. This respect I had for him as a designer and for GRANI really helped. I think if I hadn't already held books, physical books that they'd made, and seen the work they put out previously, perhaps it would have been a different process. But having this respect and trust for the publisher certainly helped me. It's my first book, and being able to trust someone like this with the images to produce something very special was a real privilege. Really, I'm very grateful for the opportunity. But yeah, I'd recommend if you get the chance to pick up a copy, it feels very different as soon as you open it. It's an object, an art object in itself.
Yeah, I agree. Like it's okay watching the PDF during the presentation, because you can understand what is the project about and what kind of pictures are you going to find in the book, but it's not the book.
No, exactly.
So Ben, there is something that you want to add?
No, I think so. I think we've covered most of it. I mean, I think it's. I haven't spoken about the book that often. I did a little talk at a small gallery near here where I live, about the book recently. Other than that, this is the first time I've spoken for this long about the book, and yeah, it's been really interesting. It's been nice to talk about it. I feel like I've learned some things as well.
Yeah, it's always like that. Like we keep learning during the whole process, and yeah, it's good. I like it. So I will start with the standard question, if it's okay for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So do you have some specific music to suggest to going through the book?
That's a good question. I mean, I think instinctively I would think about something instrumental, not with words, but then a song that was very important to me when I was making this, while I was editing, and so perhaps it would work. Maybe it'd be worth giving it a try. There's a song called "Farewell Transmission" by Songs Ohio. I don't know if you know this.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, this song was important to me. I think there are certain connections perhaps within the lyrics. I was listening to this song a lot and this album and this band while I was making some of the pictures, and there is a darkness there, a night. There's images of birds and owls and blood, and maybe this would work.
And did you learn something during the process of doing this work that can help other photographers doing a better job?
Yeah, I think the main thing I learned, so once I'd got a lot of these images together, I was sharing them with friends, with other photographers, and getting advice. And I approached a publisher here in the UK who was fantastic. We had a Zoom call. They liked the images. They were very complimentary. But some advice I got from them was, take your time. It's no rush. Don't go too soon. Make sure it's, you wait till you've got the images. I think at that stage, I had some of these images. Some of them I'd taken maybe, but I hadn't put into the sequence. Others I hadn't taken. And their advice was, don't rush it. So this would have been maybe, so the earliest image here would be from this book would probably be around 2019. I probably approached them in 2022, and they said, just relax, don't worry. It's keep making photographs. You'll get stronger images to build the sequence, to make it more powerful. And that was really, really good advice, because I had this idea. I've got this work. I want to make a book. I want to get something done now. But I've ended up not working with that publisher for this book. But that advice was really important to me, because they were right. I needed stronger images, and I needed more time to build this project. So I'm very grateful for that. I think if I'd have published at that point, it wouldn't have been as good.
And so, what happened with this publisher?
I
why in the end they didn't come up with that publisher?
Purely because I think in the meantime, when I think I would have gone back to them with another sequence, but around the time sort of Valentino and I spoke, and at that point, the other publisher is much more traditional books, very, very nice books, which I really enjoy. But I think the opportunity to work with someone like Valentino on these handmade objects, and for I was happy to go for a small print run as well. It's something which I like, the idea of this object, this small run of beautiful books. I mean, I'm not saying I wouldn't love to work with a big publisher and make a huge edition, but for this book, it just felt right, and I felt that this style of book was right for the images.
Yeah, different publishers for different works.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree. And I think this is a really important point, to understand, which could be the right publisher for your work. It's some years ago, I was more into, I want to be published. It doesn't care so much who is going to publish the book. Mm-hmm. Right now, I think more you grow up inside this little bubble, this world, it's really important to try to understand which one could be your publisher. And then maybe in the end it's not going to happen. But I think it's quite important to have this kind of direction or idea in mind.
Yeah.
And so the very last question is, can you suggest us a book to have in one of the next episode?
Well, that's a hard one. There are so many good books. I think one that I look at often, which I enjoy. I mean, it also is images of the family, but it's very different than my book. And the fact that there are no words really to explain anything about it makes me curious. Is Forage, I think, or maybe Forage by Francois Jonquette. It's published by Void. This is a book which is a little mystery to me. I enjoy looking at it very much, and I'd like to hear more about that.
I'm going to check it out. Do you have another title that you want to add?
I think I'm also interested. I don't have any of the books, but Harrison Miller, Underlife Editions, Yellow Pine. There's a few books there. The Valley, or Valleys. These look like beautiful handmade books, which I would love to own, and I'd like to hear more about the process there.
Yeah, before I have to find it. It's not easy to find that books.
Yeah, this is it. Yeah, some of these handmade books are difficult to get hold of. Yeah,
and that's it, Ben. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been lovely.
Yeah, it was really nice. Guys, if you like this book, go to try to find it, because I don't know how many copies GRANI is sold in Arles, but yeah, it's only 100, and I'm really happy that I bought one there.
Thank you, Gabriele.
Goodbye, everybody. Thanks so much, Ben. It was a great pleasure to speak with you, and let's hope to meet in Paris Photo or somewhere.
That would be great. Thank you.
So, ciao everybody from me and Ben. Bye bye.
Bye.